last name just in case anybody else looks at this tape.
Okay, Michael McIntosh,
Okay. And if you can spell out both, just in
sure.
case anybody else looks at this tape.
Michael. McIntosh is McIntosh.
Okay. Well, thank you for allowing us to talk to you, and we're happy that you're finally able to share the Sheriff's Department's side of this circumstance. What's your perspective on this ticket?
Well, first of all, I first got wind of this obviously Monday after you ran the story, and I can tell you that citizens started to contact me. So Tuesday when we came in, one of the first things that I wanted to do is look into what actually transpired. So I got a hold of the deputy, me and the patrol division chief and the undersheriff, and had a conversation about what really happened on that day. And as in most situations and stories, there's a little bit more to what happened that day. And I think that it's very important that the community understands who we are and what we're about. And it's also important that those that we come in contact with understand that. We already know that there's a tendency, especially in today's day and age, to have a little bit of mistrust out there. And we're working really hard on building that. And so, obviously I was concerned when I saw your story. And so when we had the conversation with the deputy, things became a little bit more clear for me as to why it is that he took the actions that he took. So I just want to have an opportunity to paint a little bit of a picture of how the traffic stop went down and what was going on. As you know, it was August 19th, middle of the week, school's starting back again. He's traveling on Broadway. He's following this car that later turned out to be Mr. Berlin's car. But his windshield was obstructed, and I know that you've seen the windshield, and I also realize that it's just the passenger side. But when we're talking about being able to view what's going on sidewalks and what's to the side of you, out of the passenger side of the windshield, it becomes very, very important. He sees the damage from behind Mr. Berlin, which immediately told me that it was fairly significant damage to the passenger side window. He pulls Mr. Berlin over into the parking lot where the traffic stop took place. He contacted Mr. Berlin and he asked him for his driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance, just like any deputy would on a normal traffic stop. Mr. Berlin was only able to produce his driver's license. So the deputy went back to his car, and through a clearance of his driver's license, he was able to determine that Mr. Berlin also had a driver's history, one of which was a defective vehicle. In looking at the entire situation, when the deputy went back and discussed with Mr. Berlin why it is that he stopped him, he told him that he stopped him because of the obstructed windshield. What didn't happen, or what information the deputy didn't have, is he did not know that he had an appointment set at that dealership right there, that auto glass place right there at 64th and Broadway. And Mr. Berlin, although he said he was going to get the windshield fixed, never mentioned that he had an appointment there. Knowing that he had already had a defective vehicle ticket, our deputy wanted to make sure that of all of the things that he stopped him for, he wanted to make sure that that was taken care of. I think it's also important to look at the fact that he stopped him and he found that he had no proof of insurance and he had no valid registration. Well, registration is something that we can get on the radio, we can run the plate, and we can determine that yes, in fact, that is Mr. Berlin's car. It is legally licensed and plated. But the insurance becomes a different story. One of the things that we have the opportunity to do is to use our discretion in the situation. And like I told you at the beginning, one of the things that we're also trying to do is give those that we come in contact with some benefit of the doubt. So instead of writing a no proof of insurance citation, which is a $500 fine and an automatic court appearance, the deputy decided, I'm just going to write you a defective vehicle. It's a $46 deal. If you don't even want to go to court, you don't have to. It's something that you can pay within the next 20 days. And he let Mr. Berlin go. And some of this was because of the interaction that he had with Mr. Berlin. Mr. Berlin was very cooperative, as was our deputy, other than at the very end, Mr. Berlin found it very puzzling that he was getting a ticket for the defective vehicle. The miscommunication part in all of this is our deputy had no idea that he had an appointment there. Only a statement from Mr. Berlin that he was going to get the windshield fixed. Never any indication when or where. So in my light of being the sheriff and really wanting to make sure that the officers have discretion in everything that they do when they're out there, and knowing that we want to build that trust, that community partnership, I was actually encouraged to find that he gave him the benefit of the doubt for the insurance. We don't know whether he did or he didn't. Could have written him for that and made him go to court. And gave him and issued him a summons for something that was actually there and apparent, and really for traffic safety in Adams County that we take very seriously. There was that obstruction that he wanted to make sure that he followed through with and that he got it fixed. He didn't write him for the no proof of insurance or the registration, but did write him for the obstruction windshield.
Was his car registered? Was that cleared through the dispatch?
It was cleared.
It was cleared.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the $46 fine could have been a $522 fine, and when we look at the entirety of the circumstances, I just want folks to know that we don't have quotas. We're not out there for the money. We want to make sure that people in the community are safe, whether they're on the roadway, whether they're pedestrians that are on the sidewalk, or whether there's somebody that's living in their home. Our responsibility is to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to ensure that public safety and the trust within our community.
So the unsafe vehicle citation was actually a lesser citation than he could have gotten.
Much more so. Yeah, the no proof of insurance is a Class 1 misdemeanor traffic offense, which requires you to go to court. You don't have the option of just mailing in a fine.
I remember speaking to Mr. Berlin, and he told us that he did show the proof of insurance from his phone to the deputy.
Okay.
Did the deputy disclose that?
The deputy told me that he was trying to find it on his phone, but that had never been verified.
Okay.
When the deputy went back up to have Mr. Berlin sign, he said that he had been working on his phone to try to get it, but that it had never been verified.
So he couldn't get his insurance up fast enough?
Correct.
Okay, so he was still issued
He was still issued, yes, the defective vehicle for the windshield.
And so from what you've been told by the deputy, Mr. Berlin never disclosed to the deputy that he actually had a set 3:30 appointment?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Anything else you would like to add, Sheriff, regarding this story? I mean, a lot of people are commenting, saying that the officer should have never issued that ticket in the parking lot of the auto
Right,
shop.
right. And I understand that, and I understand their frustration, and I think that's why it was so important when we started talking about it, and after I had the conversation with the deputy, that we did get the information out that the deputy did use good discretion, that the deputy did give Mr. Berlin the benefit of the doubt when it came to the insurance, but had no idea, one, that he had an appointment already set, and two, that it was actually where they were parked at the time. And obviously, in light of all of that, and I don't know whether you saw the statement that we sent, in light of all of that, if the court chose to completely dismiss this case, we're okay with that. What's going on, and some citizens have said, hey, you need to fix this. I would never ask a deputy to fix a ticket. And if I would never ask a deputy to fix a ticket, I probably shouldn't be doing that either. And that's not my role. If the courts want to dismiss this case, we are completely fine with that in light of the fact that Mr. Berlin did have an appointment. We now know that. And it was where he was at. So it's one of those situations where we just needed to make sure that we had this conversation so that the community understands everything that was going on, everything that was going through the deputy's mind at the time, and why he made the decision that he did.
Okay. Does your agency require paper proof of insurance, or is it okay for someone to show it on their phone?
If somebody showed that on the phone to us, we would be okay with that, yes.
Okay, all right. So if I go back to Mr. Berlin, and he says he showed the deputy his insurance on the phone, there may be a conflict there between what he says
There could be.
and what the deputy says.
There
Okay.
could be. The other thing that I think is very important to know
Uh-huh.
as deputy is approaching the car, there's what we call a tone alert, which is a tone that goes out to our deputies of a very serious crime that is occurring. So there was a tone alert of a shots fired call at 70th and Broadway. They're at 64th and Broadway. So as Mr. Berlin is signing the ticket, Mr. Haney is now thinking about what's going on behind him. And so that traffic contact at that point was over.
Okay.
He wanted to get into his car, get down there and see what was going on.
Okay, so it sounds like what you're saying, Sheriff, with the totality of all the information that you now have,
Yes.
this ticket is justified?
In my opinion, absolutely. In the opinion of the command staff at the Adams County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I think that's all the questions I
I
have.
have
Yeah.
I mean, and you can answer Jeremy,
Oh.
like pretend like he's still
Okay.
asking us, but this is all great information. Is there any way we could have gotten it before we ran this story?
Sure, and I think that there's a breakdown there too. I know that the question is why didn't we foretell that? And quite honestly, we're talking about a defective vehicle ticket.
Sure.
We usually don't get into the weeds on things like that.
Yeah,
It's like, okay,
we
if
don't
somebody-
either.
Right, if somebody got a defective vehicle
Yeah.
ticket, okay, run with. I had no idea, and nor did our public information officer have any idea the significance of and the way that this was going to make us look. We thought it was a defective, again, because the deputy thought, that he wrote a ticket to somebody who was going to go get his windshield fixed, but didn't realize the impact that would have, knowing that it was already, that there was a time already set, and he was in the parking lot where that was going to be.
So I just
fixed.
want to be clear. I want to run through all of the facts that you told me just now. That way I'm clear, and that way we have our story set when we quote your office. He has a history of having a defective vehicle.
He has a defective vehicle that he just received.
Was he cited for a defective vehicle in the past?
He was cited in March, and he received, the final disposition was defective vehicle in April.
Okay, was that issued by your office? Or
I believe it was Denver.
Oh, okay, so he was issued for a defective vehicle citation in the past. He did not have a physical proof of insurance, and he did not have a physical proof of registration on him.
Correct.
Correct. The only thing he was able to produce is a driver's license.
Correct.
And so the deputy went up and issued him a unsafe vehicle citation, as kind of like a lesser citation.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Used his discretion, and actually that was the lesser of the citations he could have gotten.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Anything else you'd like to add, Sheriff? That's all I
I
got.
don't think so.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your side.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we were finally able to get your
Yeah,
side of
yeah.
the story and all of this.
Me too.
Yeah.